The notice was simple. Ranch cook needed. Room and board included. Must handle early mornings. Call Caleb Turner. He tacked it to the corkboard outside Miller's General Store, just off the highway near San Angelo. He didn't expect much. Maybe an older woman from town needing extra cash. Maybe someone passing through. He certainly didn't expect her. 3 days later, a faded blue sedan coughed its way up his dirt drive, trailing a nervous cloud of dust behind it. Caleb was repairing a fence when he heard the engine cut. He straightened slowly, wiping his hands on his jeans. The driver's door opened. A woman stepped out first. Thin, pale from too many sleepless nights. Her dark hair was pulled back in a loose knot, strands escaping in the wind. She wore a second-hand cardigan over a plain dress, and though her posture tried to be steady, exhaustion clung to her like weight. Then the back doors opened. 2 children climbed out. A boy around 9, holding himself stiff like he believed he had to be the man now, and a little girl, maybe 5, clutching a stuffed rabbit missing one ear. The woman walked forward, each step deliberate. "Are you Mr. Turner?" "That depends," Caleb replied evenly. "Who's asking?" "My name is Sarah Whitmore," she swallowed. "I called about the cooking job." Caleb's gaze shifted briefly to the children, then back to her. The notice hadn't mentioned kids. "You didn't say anything about family," he said. Her jaw tightened slightly, bracing for rejection she clearly expected. "I didn't know if that would matter." "It matters," he answered honestly. The boy's hand slipped into his mother's. The little girl hid partly behind her skirt. Silence stretched across the open field between them. Wind bent the tall grass low. Sarah forced herself to continue. "I can cook for a ranch crew. I grew up on a farm in Oklahoma. I wake early. I don't complain. We won't be trouble." "We won't be trouble." The phrase settled heavy. Caleb studied her car, one tire balding, bumper tied with wire. Everything about them looked temporary, fragile. "Where's your husband?" he asked quietly. The boy's jaw clenched harder. Sarah's voice didn't break. "Gone." That single word carried enough truth that Caleb didn't press further. "You understand ranch work isn't easy," he said. "Men eat before sunrise. Dishes pile fast. Winters aren't forgiving." "I'm not looking for easy," she replied. The honesty in that answer made him pause. "And the kids? They help. They stay out of the way." The boy spoke up suddenly. "I can feed chickens." Caleb raised an eyebrow. "You know how?" "Yes, sir." The little girl peeked out. "I don't talk loud," she added solemnly, as if that were a skill. Something shifted in Caleb's chest. He had posted a notice for a cook. Not a family, not responsibility, not noise in a house that had been quiet for 6 long years. But the house had been too quiet. He exhaled slowly. "You see that bunkhouse?" He pointed toward a small white building near the barn. "Needs cleaning, has running water. It's yours if you take the job." Sarah blinked, almost not trusting what she heard. "You're hiring me?" "I'm hiring a cook," he corrected gently. "The rest we'll figure out." Relief didn't explode from her. It sank deep and quiet, like someone lowering a heavy load after carrying it too long. "Thank you," she whispered. "Don't thank me yet," he replied. "Work starts at 4:30 tomorrow." The next morning, the ranch kitchen lights flicked on before the sky even hinted at dawn. Caleb stepped inside expecting awkwardness. Instead, he found the smell of bacon already filling the air. Coffee brewed strong. Biscuits rose in the oven. Sarah moved efficiently, sleeves rolled up, hair tied back tighter today. The boy, Ethan, was carefully setting tin plates along the long wooden table. The little girl, Lily, sat on a stool, shelling peas with intense concentration. "You're early," Caleb observed. "I don't sleep much," Sarah answered simply. The ranch hands arrived expecting the usual routine of reheated meals. Caleb had half burned himself. Instead, they found a hot breakfast that tasted like memory. By the third day, no one complained about the change. By the fifth, they were lingering longer at the table. By the seventh, laughter had returned to a kitchen that had only known echo. Caleb watched it happen in quiet increments. Ethan followed him to the barn after meals, asking careful questions about saddles and fencing. Lily left wildflowers in a chipped jar on the kitchen window every afternoon. Sarah worked without pause. She cleaned, cooked, repaired torn curtains, even patched a leak in the pantry roof before Caleb noticed it. One evening, as the sun dipped behind the pasture, Caleb found her sitting alone on the bunkhouse steps. The children were inside asleep. "You don't have to prove yourself every hour," he said. Her gaze remained fixed on the horizon. "If I stop moving, I start thinking." "About what?" "About how fast everything disappeared." He didn't interrupt. "My husband worked construction," she continued. "He fell from scaffolding. No savings, no insurance. The house went first, then the car, then—" her voice faltered briefly. "Then people stop answering calls." Caleb leaned against the railing. "You think this is charity?" Her head turned sharply. "Isn't it?" "No." His voice held steady conviction. "You earn your keep, same as anyone here." Silence softened between them. "I can't lose another place," she admitted quietly. "You won't," he said before fully realizing he meant it. Weeks turned into months. The ranch shifted in subtle ways. Meals became gatherings. The bunkhouse curtains glowed warm at night. Lily's laughter floated across the yard like wind chimes. Ethan grew taller, stronger, more certain. And Caleb, who had sworn after his wife's death that he would never let his life tangle with anyone else's again, found himself listening for small footsteps in the morning. Then one afternoon, a white envelope appeared in the mailbox at the end of the drive. No return address. Inside was a legal notice. Custody review. A distant relative of Sarah's late husband was contesting guardianship of the children, claiming financial instability and unsuitable living conditions. Caleb read it twice, jaw tightening. That evening, he handed it to Sarah. The color drained from her face. "They said they didn't want responsibility." "Looks like they want something now," he muttered. "They'll say I can't provide." Her voice shook. "They'll say this isn't a real home." Caleb looked past her toward the ranch. The barn Ethan had painted red again. The garden Lily helped plant. The kitchen glowing warm through the window. "This is more real than anything I've seen in years," he said quietly. Tears filled her eyes, but she blinked them back. "If they take them—" "They won't," he interrupted. "You can't promise that." He stepped closer, voice low and firm. "I can promise I won't let you fight alone." The wind moved across the open Texas land, bending grass low beneath the darkening sky. Sarah stood there, clutching the letter that threatened to uproot everything again. And Caleb realized something he hadn't expected when he pinned that small notice to a corkboard in San Angelo. He hadn't just hired a cook. He had opened his door to a family. The realization didn't arrive gently. It settled into Caleb's bones like something that had been waiting there all along. Sarah stood in the fading light, the legal notice trembling slightly in her hand. The ranch stretched quiet around them, unaware that a storm far different from weather was rolling in. "They'll say I can't give them stability," she whispered. "They'll say this is temporary." Caleb's jaw tightened. "Is it?" Her eyes lifted to his. Fear lived there, but so did something stubborn. "Not to me." "Then we fight." The custody hearing was scheduled in a county courthouse 30 miles away. Word traveled fast in small Texas towns. By the time the morning came, half of San Angelo seemed to know. Caleb drove the pickup himself. Ethan sat stiff in the front seat, trying to look brave. Lily curled against her mother in the back, clutching the same one-eared rabbit. Sarah stared out the window, silent. "You don't have to look scared," Caleb said quietly. "I'm not scared for me," she replied. "I'm scared they'll believe money means love." He didn't answer right away, because sometimes courts did. The courthouse was brick, old, and unforgiving. Inside, polished floors echoed with every step. The relative contesting custody turned out to be a cousin from Houston, a man in a pressed gray suit who looked uncomfortable even breathing ranch air. He offered Sarah a tight smile. "This is about giving the children opportunity." "They have opportunity," she replied evenly. "In a bunkhouse?" he countered. Caleb stepped forward slightly, but Sarah's hand touched his arm, a silent request to let her speak. "In a home," she corrected. The hearing felt longer than it was. Questions about income, housing, education, stability. The cousin's attorney painted the ranch as isolated, uncertain. Painted Caleb as an unrelated man with no legal tie. When it was Caleb's turn to speak, he stood straight, hat in hand. "I posted a notice for a cook," he began. "Didn't expect anything more. But what I got was someone who works harder than anyone I've hired. Kids who respect this land. A house that finally feels alive again." The judge studied him. "Are you related to this family, Mr. Turner?" "No, ma'am." "Then why involve yourself?" He paused, not searching for words, choosing them carefully. "Because sometimes family's who shows up." Silence filled the room. Ethan's small shoulders squared a little higher. Lily looked up at him with wide, trusting eyes. The cousin shifted uncomfortably. Emotional sentiment doesn't replace financial security. Caleb reached into his jacket and handed over documents. Ranch profits last 6 months, increased 30%, improvements logged, savings account established for both children. Sarah turned sharply toward him. "You didn't?" "I did," he said simply. The judge reviewed the papers. "And your intention?" Caleb didn't hesitate. "If their mother allows it, I intend to make this permanent." Sarah's breath caught. The cousin's attorney faltered. "Permanent how?" Caleb's voice remained steady. "Marriage." The word landed like thunder in a clear sky. Sarah stared at him, shock and something softer flooding her expression. The judge's gaze shifted to her. "Mrs. Whitmore?" Her heart pounded so loudly she was certain the entire courtroom could hear it. She hadn't expected this, hadn't dared imagine it. Caleb wasn't looking at the judge anymore. He was looking at her. Not rescuing, not claiming, offering. "You don't owe me anything," he said quietly, "but you won't stand alone here, not if you don't want to." Tears gathered in her eyes, not from fear this time, but from the weight of being chosen. "I don't want to stand alone," she answered. The cousin's argument unraveled after that. The judge requested a brief recess. When she returned, her decision was calm and firm. "Custody remains with the mother. Petition denied." The gavel struck. Lily gasped in delight. Ethan exhaled a breath he'd been holding for weeks. Outside the courthouse, sunlight poured down warmer than it had any right to. Sarah turned to Caleb once they reached the steps. "You didn't have to say that." "I meant it." "You barely know me." A faint smile touched his face. "I know enough." She studied him carefully. "You're offering more than protection." "I'm offering partnership." The words settled differently than rescue ever could. Back at the ranch, the air felt lighter. The bunkhouse no longer seemed temporary. The kitchen no longer felt borrowed. That evening, Ethan helped Caleb repair a fence post without being asked. Lily insisted on setting 4 plates at the table instead of 3. Sarah stood at the stove, watching them through the doorway. "You changed everything," she said softly when Caleb stepped beside her. He shook his head. "You did. I just answered the notice." She smiled faintly. "No, you answered us." Outside, the Texas sky stretched wide and forgiving. The ranch no longer felt like a place she worked to keep. It felt like a place that had chosen her back. And Caleb, who once believed posting a small notice was just about filling a kitchen, realized he had filled something far deeper. Not just a job, not just a house, but a life that had been waiting for the sound of children's laughter to echo through it again.